Me. Hello? Hey, Jill.
Hi, Betsy.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. I'm using a device.
I know we're only going to miss Autumn for sure. I don't know about anybody else.
Are we even going to have a quorum tonight?
I don't know. Autumn's the only person who I got an email about. Let me see. I can check again.
Melinda won't be here.
Oh, rats. Okay.
How many do we need for a quorum?
3. Let me go get my agenda. I take that back. There are 8 on the committee here. I'm thinking it's 5. So there are 8 on the committee. So 50%, which is 4.
And do we have a an amount of minority representation that needs to be in the group?
For an 8-member, Let me look at the figures. Oh, it wouldn't matter for quorum, is that what you mean?
Okay, yes.
No, it
that's
doesn't,
what I
no,
meant.
it's the makeup of the committee. Whoever shows up to the meeting shows up to the meeting. It
Okay.
doesn't, minority representation doesn't apply into individual meetings.
Okay, perfect. Just curious.
Yep, no, it never has. If anybody does that you know of, they're violating, well, they're using a rule that isn't there unless they made up their own rules. So you always have to be careful. There could be, you know, town council, city council will have their own set of rules. They can't be less than statute, but they can be more stringent than statute.
Okay. No, no one has done that. I just didn't know if there was a rule.
Nope. Mm-mm. Nope. But
I know Lauren said she needs to leave at 7.
here's Harry. Hi, Harry. Hi, Harry.
Hold on, I just logged in. Hold on. You got me now?
You can be there. It's fine.
Am I here?
You're here.
All right. All I see is you.
Jill's here and Representative
Oh.
Cassiari. I didn't know you were coming, Melinda. I thought you weren't going to come. I'm glad you're here.
Who, me?
No, Melinda.
Oh,
Thanks. I'm going to try and be here the whole time.
Good, excellent. But
Hi,
waiting for
Harry.
you. Maybe we get
Hello.
more people. There's Kathy.
I can't see everybody. I got to figure this out.
Well, you have to start your video.
Mute. All right, I'm looking. I'm looking. Microphone.
There's Kathy Chase.
Oh, it's not. I don't see. It says exit full screen.
Well, you should have there should be a little button that says stop video or a, let's see if I can, let me see if I can do it for you. Let's see.
I usually.
Mine doesn't either, Betsy. It has
Let
nothing.
me see if I can get it to work. Let's see.
Not that I need to see myself.
No. Weird.
Because all I have is you on the screen. It's like I'm watching
Well,
you.
Jill can be on. Let me see if I can fix that. Let me look in here.
Scroll your screen. Try scrolling your screen. If you're on a tablet, it will probably just show one person at a time.
I'm on a full computer screen, so
Oh, huh.
use this.
Let me get off of me. Now what do we got? Anybody can talk? So if you go into your video settings,
I gotta find them.
you don't have a little camera, a little thing that looks like a camera?
I don't either, Betsy. This is Karen. I don't either.
It's odd. It's not the way it usually looks.
Okay, I know that somebody was goofing around with, oh, there's Kate. I know somebody was goofing around with the settings yesterday with the town council. Let me see if I can do something.
If you're just an attendee and not a panelist, you won't have those options for your camera, I believe. So Harry and Kathy, since you're not panelists, since you're not committee members, you might not have those options.
Oh, I'm not a committee member. I have no idea. I got an invitation.
No, the committee is made up of Representative Cassiari, Dean Shinbrat, Flax, Lauren Gauthier, Hanscom, Kate Richards, and Rusk.
Okay.
Why do I say some first names and not others? I don't know. There's,
Just Harry, so it
there's
doesn't matter.
Representative Flax.
Okay, so now I don't see anybody, but that's okay. I'll sit back and listen. Thank you.
If I promote you. Let's see
There
what happens if I promote you to panelist. You shouldn't be there, but that's all right.
Now we have it.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Now we're just missing the chairman. Maybe he's having trouble signing in. Sometimes that happens. But did anyone have difficulty signing in?
Hi, Bruce.
Hi, Harry.
I did not, Betsy.
Good.
Somebody fix something.
So, Betsy, question, what is the procedure if the chairman isn't present?
So the committee can nominate someone to chair the meeting and take the minutes. It's not horrible if the chair is not there, because everybody has the agenda and you certainly know what you've been working on. Let me see. I don't know. Let's see, there's somebody else. That's Sima. Hey, Sima, we're trying to find the chair.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I was on mute.
I just sent him an email, but I don't know. Oh, there we go. There he is. Ta-da! Now you're all set, so I'll shut up now.
Hello. Can you hear
Good
me?
evening. Yep, we can hear you.
Great. Thank you. All right. Sorry for the delay. Had a little trouble with the connection getting on. All right. All right. So, Quark members in attendance. We have Representative Cassieri, Gothier, Flax, and Rusk, and Richards. Okay. So we do have a quorum, so we can get started. Is everyone here? As far as I see
Yep.
everyone's muted right now. So Representative Richards, are you there? Okay, great. Representative Rusk?
Here.
Representative Cassieri?
Here.
Representative Gothier?
Here.
Representative Flax?
Here.
Representative Dean Shinbrot? And Representative Hanscom emailed that she's not going to be able to make it. So, all right. So first order of business, the approval of the minutes. Did anyone have, oh, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Representative Rusk.
Gothier seconded.
All right. Any discussion? All right. So seeing that, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain. I wasn't in the last meeting, so.
Okay. All right. So let me pull up the agenda here. Communications or reports. Does anyone have anything to report? All right. All right, so the first. Has everyone, oh, Moderator Ebbin, I see you're here. Do you have, are you just here? Do you have anything to share, or are you just?
No, I'm just here to listen.
Okay, very well.
Thank you.
All right, so as far as all the Cork members, did everyone have a chance to review the webinar recording at some point since Representative Richards first brought it to our attention a few weeks ago? Did anyone not have a chance to view that?
I have not.
I have not. This is Jill Rusk. I'm sorry I wasn't able to even open it. I tried opening it and couldn't open it. So I don't know if I could be sent a new link.
Okay. Yeah, I'll forward the email along then. All right, so.
Excuse me, can I just
Oh
clarify?
yeah, Representative Richards, yes.
Is this the recording of the webinar that I sent the email out about? It's
Yeah,
the same one, correct? Just want to make sure.
It's the same one.
Okay. Yes, I did get to watch it when it was live.
You did not.
I did. I did watch it.
Okay, yeah. And Representative Hanscom did as well. And then she sent an email out about a week or so after that that had a link to the recording. And that's the link that I sent out in the email, or attempted to. I guess it didn't necessarily work. So I would say we can, I would encourage everyone, I'll send another link out today to follow this meeting and encourage everyone to view it. And we can discuss in the next meeting. Yes, Betsy.
Sometime, I was just going to suggest if people go back to that email that you had the link and pull the link over to your desktop, sometimes you can open those encrypted links that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you. All right, so the last meeting we had, moving on to item number 3, the draft construction of the Cork report, I opened up a Google Doc and invited the committee members in for making comments and edits. And I did that for the purpose of getting down to the point, I guess. My sense, and I talked to the moderator a good bit after last week's meeting where we kind of ended on a bit of a unsettled note. It seemed like there was some confusion over like exactly what our purpose is and what actions we are looking to take and what priority actions should have. And there's some confusion around the letter of recommendation and the PAC group and all that stuff. So in speaking with the moderator, we kind of came to the feeling that, you know, we should refocus on just creating. The initial impetus of this group was to do a research, fact-finding type mission that would create a report that would communicate to the RTM as a whole and to the town council and just be available as reference for the community at large as far as like a broad overview of what civilian oversight is, what some models look like, what sort of spectrum those models may exist on, and what the town of Groton currently has in regards to police oversight, and then what options may exist. So the talk of recommendations and really pushing things forward started to feel a little far afield for me over the past couple of weeks. It felt like it was detracting from the main purpose of this group, which was to create a report, which many weeks ago we decided to make the first draft deadline be September 30th, which is now, you know, the end of the month. So I felt the impetus to try to start throwing a draft together. And what that is, that document is basically just a fleshed out outline. I just kind of threw down a basic outline of what I thought a good report might look like and started plugging in stuff that I had already kind of gleaned from the that webinar recording and the slides and various other interviews that we've done so far. It's by obviously no means complete. There's a lot of gaps in there. So I think we would be well served as a committee to try to get ourselves organized in that fashion to try to fill in the blank spots of that report and make sure that, you know, we feel like that, you know, by September 30th, we have something that is presentable to ourselves and to the public at large. Understanding that it is just a draft rendition, but it should be close enough to have some semblance of cohesion and clarity. So I'll open the floor to discussion on that subject. Anyone have any thoughts?
Yeah, Representative Gauthier here.
Mhm.
Was everyone able to see the comments I had made and then the additional language that I put in?
I believe so. I mean, the comments should be viewable by all.
Okay. Basically just thought it'd be important to have a background section about the committee specifically as context for readers. And a lot of these reports, you don't want to assume that the audience knows about your body or knows about what your mission is. So I thought that might be important to include to give some context to the report. And that was just the gist of it.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think that's a good thought, a good idea. And if we look at the draft of that document, towards the bottom, I created a recommendations or committee members comments and recommendations section. So I'm thinking like what we could do, as opposed to trying to wrestle ourselves into some sort of consensus, which could also kind of suck up a lot of valuable time. What we could do is kind of just work, you know, focus on the body of the report being pretty much, you know, fact-based and straight to the point of like what very functional nuts and bolts type discussion. And then at the bottom, like every committee member would have an opportunity to write, you know, at length, their sort of understanding, perception, and recommendation for what they think, you know, would be a good way going forward. And maybe in that same section, or we could create a separate section where it's, you know, maybe at the beginning, so people know who's writing this report, we could have that bio section. So I would be more than happy to put that in if there's a consensus about having a bio section for all the committee members. Representative Rusk, I'm just going to kind of run down the line and touch base with all the committee members that are in attendance. How would you feel about that?
About a bio section?
Yeah, just a quick like discussion, you know, introduction of like, you know, who's on the committee.
I don't think it's necessary.
Mhm.
I'm okay with giving my opinion on the end, but I feel like we as a committee should come up with some sort of a consensus, and I think we're far from that at this point.
Mhm.
I think I'm going to hold my comments for later, any more than that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Representative Cassieri.
Thank you. My biggest issue with the draft as it is right now, and I understand that it's a draft, I think we need to be very careful about our language. And I'm not sure if you saw my comment on there that I added last night. A lot of things in regards to law enforcement in the state of Connecticut are statutorily mandated. And I like the overview of what you're showing, each kind of option to be. However, I think we need to have some disclaimers in there that, you know, like I added last night, you know, when you wrote that if there was no oversight, that there wouldn't be any, basically any way to see what's going on. That's not entirely accurate. So I just want to make sure that it's very clear in this report that things are statutorily mandated in the state. I'm not sure if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I definitely get that. And I fully grant that, you know, my wording was probably not as clear as I would have liked in that regard. But yeah, definitely with the FOIA stuff and the statutes, we could definitely get that in there. Representative Richards, any thoughts?
Hi, thank you. So I did get a chance to look through quickly. I did not get to see other people's comments, so I can't respond to that right now. I think that I think it's good to have an overview of what an oversight commission of different types could be. You know, options available to the town of Groton section. You know, a lot of that, you know, we wouldn't want to, I guess, make our own legal interpretation of things. And so I'm not sure how much of that we would be writing ourselves, or we would just be inserting opinions that we have gotten. And, you know, that was one thing before the state police accountability bill came into being, and it will be another thing now as that continues and then it is fully in place. So that, and, you know, in the meeting with the town council, there was a lawyer who had a little bit of a different interpretation too. So I think we need to be careful about, you know, are we representing, you know, our opinion of this? You know, are we trying to decide which legal opinion that we've heard, and maybe there are others out there too, which should be the right one? That's something that we need to consider very carefully. And then as far as kind of where to go with it, I agree with Representative Rusk that I think we should, as a committee, you know, see what common ground that we can have as some sort of recommendation to the RTM after putting this together. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Representative Flax?
Hi, thank you, Representative Thomas. I admittedly have, you know, missed a few of the meetings, so I don't want to, you know, step where you know, because I haven't seen everything. I think that the information that I've read in the document so far, that has been provided has been very helpful. I think Representative Cacciari has, you know, certainly brought up a lot of points, which lead me to wondering, you know, where we fall in the not procedures, but where we fall in helping the town council, and what is under the purview of the RTM in terms of contributing to what they're doing, and also part of it for me is that all of the questions that seem to come up, it seems like we continue to get layers of information, and you know, it's a very serious subject and go on for a long time, and wondering, you know, if we can do what we're tasked to do in the time frame that the town council needs it before they travel on and their safety committee to do what they want to do. So I have a lot of questions, but you know, I'm on board with the committee, but, you know, if I'm going to be honest, I have missed a couple of meetings, so it wouldn't be fair to go all in, if that makes any sense at all.
Understood. And circling back to Representative Gothier, do you have any further thoughts? You opened up the floor, so.
Sure. Yeah, I think I'd like to echo a lot of Representative Flack's sentiments. I'm hearing a lot of unease just with the weight and size of what we are going after, and I think a lot of that comes from, you know, we aren't professionals, and this is a very serious thing to consider. And I don't think that our recommendations, when made, are going to be made lightly. And I think that's a lot of it. Is none of us, all of us, I should say, would really want to do justice to the task at hand. So that being said, if all we are doing is compiling this research report, I think what would benefit at least me in helping with this would be finding out a little bit more, if in any way possible, what the community thinks themselves. And I don't know, and I know we talked about a community survey previously. I don't think it has to be anything too involved or anything like that. But, you know, I appreciate the fact that we all are, you know, putting a lot of weight on the subject, and I think some caution is there, but if in the end it is certainly just a research task, you know, the recommendations, I guess, well, we could come to that after we complete the research portion. If that makes sense. Instead of trying to lead with a recommendation, lead with research.
Yep, that makes
Thank
a lot of sense. Representative Richards?
Yes, thank you. I just want to say, I think there's a lot of value in trying to put together one place to find information on what we could do as a town for some sort of oversight in response to, you know, what's going on around our country right now. I have a hard time, I guess, just yeah, as Representative Gothier said, feeling like we can do that really fully and conclusively, and do a very thorough job of that without it being a much larger project. We can certainly do something that's more of an overview and point to sources. I do see some value in also coming up with, you know, maybe it's recommendations or maybe it's more goals of what some oversight should be, and having some consensus on that to recommend and go forward. So I'll just put that out there.
Good points, fair points. Representative Cassieri?
Thank you. Just to go along with what Representative Richards said, part of the reason that I sent out the email to everyone was because in the many weeks that we've been researching, and I've been following the Public Safety Committee as well, there's a lot when it comes to investigations, and I just wanted to kind of put everything on the table that kind of was popping into my head over the past couple of weeks that hasn't even been brought up, that hasn't been addressed, because I wanted everyone to see that there's a lot to this. And obviously we've been talking about the weight of what we're talking about in this group. And just to agree with Representative Richards, I think there are some things that we can state in our report as goals. We know we want to suggest a community survey. I think, you know, I don't want to speak on behalf of the group, but I think we would all feel comfortable recommending to the town council, hey, we think that you should do a community survey and reach out to see what people actually are interested in. And I believe, you know, I don't want to speak again on behalf of the group, but we've all kind of come to a consensus that a pact style group could be beneficial to the town, like it's been working in the city. And then perhaps from there, we can just go into more of an overview of what different types of oversights look like.
Thank you. Yeah, agreed. Representative Rusk. Representative Rusk.
My apologies. I didn't realize I was still on mute. I feel like we've been at this for about 2 months now, and I'm feeling like we're not at the point of moving forward. I feel like we're at a point where a lot of us feel like we're ready to make some recommendations. Representative Richard stated last time that we met that this could be a thesis. I mean, it really could. If we did all the research that we should probably be tasked to do to come up with a comprehensive statement on this, you could have a thesis paper. I agree that there are some goals that we could look at. I agree with a community survey. I don't know that we all agree that we should be doing a civilian oversight group. And from what I'm hearing from most of the people tonight, honestly, that's what I'm kind of hearing. I think it needs to come out of a survey. We need to see what our community really wants. And until we do that survey, I don't think we have definitive recommendations. So that's where I'm at.
Understood. Yep, fair point. So how best to proceed from here? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot we don't know as far as a community desire and need. Representative Cassieri?
Thank you. I'm sorry, I just wanted to add, to go along with what Representative Rusk just said. We know from the attorney and through the charter at this point that a police commission is probably not going to happen in the town. So I would just hate to actually give time in the report to even talking about that, because that seemed like a definite no from the attorney on all aspects. So in that sense, I would hate to even include it in the report at this point, because it's just not an option. So if there's things like that, then I would feel comfortable removing them from the report.
Understood. Representative Cassieri, do you have, oh, okay, you just took your hand down. Okay. So just to kind of play counterpoint to that, my thought, my sort of philosophy, you know, approaching this is the idea that regardless of what the outcome is, that some sort of like informative overview, because, you know, it's been discussed in many circles and people have questions about it. I think we'd be a little bit remiss as a research committee if we don't at least touch on what capacities are out there for civilian oversight, even if we immediately, you know, attach to that a disclaimer saying that due to this, this, and this thing can't happen here. I think, you know, as an informative body, if our goal is information, then we should share that information in as relatively unfiltered yet. Yeah, I think what we do is we can provide like sort of a digestible delivery of this information, because, you know, none of us are certified experts on the law and all the particulars of all that. You know, Representative Cassieri, notwithstanding, of course, I mean, with your experience in the police force, you have a lot more familiarity with the in-depth background on a lot of the nuts and bolts. However, like, and yes, if we went into full detail and full discourse on every single like possible variation, it would be, you know, yeah, a heavy duty term paper, thesis, doctorate, what have you. It'd be a massive document. We can't go there either. But I feel like, you know, we would do well to have sort of a broad base approach, even if, you know, for every paragraph that we explain of possible option, we have another paragraph explaining why, you know, legally it can't work here. And, you know, as we discussed last week, it's you know, the ability to do a survey, we're kind of like, we're in a weird middle ground as the RTM. We don't necessarily have the powers and the resources that the council have, but we can put a lot of stuff on their lap and say, well, here's all this, and good luck. Moderator Ebbin?
Oh, thank you, Representative Thomas. I just wanted to agree that I think that instead of just removing some of these models off the board because the charter or state law doesn't allow it, I would try to weave in a paragraph describing the attorney's opinion on what the charter does and doesn't allow, and be explicit about what the attorney is, what models the attorney is saying don't work. But I wouldn't just omit that section. I think the section on the attorney's opinion is important to encapsulate in your report. And because it could be that a future town council would want to make changes to the charter in order to adopt some of those things that the moderator is, I mean, that the attorney is saying aren't possible. I'm not saying that would be, but I just think that more information and painting the fullest picture possible is going to be useful. And I also just want to urge you guys not to let not having a survey impede your effort in compiling this research, because I think you can assemble it and that could be one of your highest priorities, but I would hate to see you guys just stop with a recommendation to have a survey. That could be your top priority, but I think it would be so useful to have, you know, a synopsis of the research that you've compiled as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you, moderator, for those comments. Yeah, that's kind of like where I was going with my comments. I feel like, you know, again, we have to measure that, you know, the broad base and full information, full spectrum presentation with not getting lost in the weeds as far as like all the nuts and bolts and all the particular variations. So that's kind of where I was going with like the broad categorical model section was, you know, basically trying to boil it down to about 4 or 5 different points along a spectrum that could exist, and, you know, and how those relate to Groton. And then we can bring in, you know, we could bring in the town attorney's opinion and take some excerpts from that and say, like, you know, well, this is, you know, the reasons there. But we also have that other attorney, the ACLU attorney's opinion, who also brought forth some other ideas and other approaches that could also exist that would still respect the legal boundaries and create some accountability at the same, you know, a different method of accountability. So I think that's kind of like what would be a good model to follow as far as like having a comprehensive report that, and as far as like what Representative Richards said, and I think Rusk as well, you know, as far as like identifying resources for further reference for the counselors and any other committee or members that want to do further research, or community members that want to do further research, you know, we can provide a doorway to that, to, you know, what we use to kind of compile this report, but getting things kind of, you know, reduced down to a manageable size and an understandable language that, you know, can kind of give people a good sense of familiarity of what's going on and what options exist and why certain options may or may not be more of a challenge if those are desired. Any other thoughts?
Representative Thomas? I'm sorry, I don't have a hand ability to raise my hand. So I think to some of the points that are being made, I think it might also be beneficial for us to, if there are unanswered topics or things that are so, that need more attention than we can give it in the time frame, that there should be a section in our recommendations of the things that we did look at or discuss, and just push that to them as a reference for their committee moving forward. That part of it is we're realizing that it's a big piece to chew. The whole thing is very large and needs to be addressed in depth. And here are some of the things that you should consider in your purview as you move forward. Just in case some of these things don't come to their attention. I think there's been a lot of good information that has come up for discussion or points that would be helpful to pass on to them today.
Agreed. I like that approach. I like that idea. As far as there's obviously lots of rabbit holes we could dive down, but we could just identify okay, well, here's areas of, so we sort of hit the limit of our research and our capacity for this report. But if people want to do further research, there it is. Here's some resources.
Right. Like these things shouldn't be overlooked. They should be given their due diligence.
Correct. Yes. Representative Rusk?
Thank you. Can I make the recommendation that rather than meeting weekly, that we have an assignment and gather together what we feel needs to be gathered together, send it in, have it compiled, and then maybe meet in 2 weeks to discuss what everybody has found?
I'm good with that idea. I was thinking something similar myself, actually. I was going to do that in other business later tonight or later in the meeting, as far as, looking at kind of staggering out, after the September 30th draft is delivered, definitely kind of maybe shifting to a once a month meeting to just touch base. But yeah, I think taking a pause here, because next week we have the RTM meeting anyway, so it would be a short meeting. So I'd hate to try to squeeze the police chief into that, but I wanted to bring that up for a discussion tonight to see when we want to bring him in, or if we wanted to, if we have defined questions that we want to ask him in an interview session, or if there's something we could address with email, but that's another story. I like that idea, Representative Rusk. And what's the consensus of the committee here? Would you guys like to take a pause and kind of take an extra week to kind of draft up and work on the draft and throw some ideas down, start writing up some stuff? Representative Richards.
Yes, thank you. I do like the idea of that, but I think we should be a little more specific about what we're going to come back to and the expectations. One thing that I think would be helpful is if everybody came with, a list of goals prioritized for going forward with looking at any options for police oversight. And, have, if it's not, written out, but at least a list of what kinds of components should be included in a report, and, some references where you're getting information about these things, and have done some background homework on that.
Agreed. I think that's a fair thing to ask. Are we all in agreement? Does anyone disagree with that idea? Okay, seeing no disagreements, then we will make that one of the things that we want to come back with is a list of goals and prioritized options for civilian oversight components to be included in the report, along with any sources that you use to pull that stuff together. anyone else feel like there's another piece they want to come back with? Or they like to have all the community members come back with? All right. Betsy?
I just had a thought that if you're going to compile everything, perhaps in a form that would look like a contents of a book. So you have your index with your page number, but it would be the item that you'd be working on. So if it's a pact, then you would have a diagram that would allow you to cite different cities that have such a, or towns that have such an organization. You know what I mean? Like an outline, so you'd be able to stream the information readily to a subject. So in every committee member you may end up with multiple similarities. You know, you could have 4 people saying the same thing, and so there you know that that's going to be something you'd want within your document.
Yeah, that could be a good way to organize the information as it comes in, as far as what components committee members want to focus on. Makes sense. All right. Representative Rusk, as far as like, you know, when you suggested taking an extra week, what would you like to come back with? I guess, what would you like to see us come back to the table with?
I'd like to see us come back to the table with what our goals are, what we feel like we want to make our recommendation, what recommendations we'd want to make to the town council. I think we've compiled a lot of data. I think we could compile data for a long time. I think each of us needs to look at what we think is important for a recommendation, and kind of go from there.
All right, that's fair. Yeah, that kind of ties in with what I was thinking initially before the meeting. Was I was interested in having people like take a stab at you know, drafting what their section of the recommendation part of the report would be. So that kind of falls in parallel with what Representative Rusk and Representative Richards both kind of identified. So, you know, I think having like an itemized list of goals and prioritized options would be a great way to kind of reduce it down to bullet points, but then having an expansive component where you kind of like, you know, can share your thoughts and feelings on all the information that we've taken in over the past many weeks. So I think that those 2 components would be a pretty strong takeaway and a solid deliverable in 2 weeks. Any other thoughts? Representative Cassieri?
We may not necessarily need to meet with the police chief via Zoom, but I think it is important to have his opinion on what his concerns are with any of the things that we are talking about, because I think it's fair to give them a seat at the table. You know, I have law enforcement experience, but I do not have town of Groton law enforcement experience. Every police department is its own atmosphere, and I think it would be important to get his take on what we're talking about.
Yep, fair point. Fair point. That brings us to the next agenda item. Representative Rusk?
I agree with Representative Cassieri. I think it's really important to get the town of Groton Police Chief's perspective. I think that it's hard to talk about an agency without getting involved with the police chief directly. I actually wish that he had been included at the table for more of this. I think that it's really important that we invite him to the next meeting.
Moderator Ebbin?
Hi, I just wanted to, say that I had invited him to the RTM when I was envisioning making this, and he declined that offer. So he hasn't chosen to come to the RTM, but I don't know if you've extended an invitation to him to come here.
Yeah, for the record, we have not directly invited him to one of these meetings yet. But it's been on my list. I felt I wanted to give the committee some time to kind of get an understanding of civilian oversight on their own. Before we inject the, the chief's perspective into that. Just because, he does, he carries a lot of weight. So I wanted the opportunity to kind of like explore ideas without that umbrella for the moment. But I think we're at the moment now where we're ready to have that conversation. Yeah, I would be fine with sending an invite, and having a 2-week buffer time between now and the next meeting would probably give him enough time to create a hole in his schedule. I know he's got a lot going on. Representative Cassieri?
I think it would also be helpful to maybe have some questions ahead of time so he knows what to prepare for.
Agreed. Definitely. We do want to have like specific targeted questions. So that could be the third deliverable that we all have 2 weeks to figure out. You say maybe about 5 questions each would be fair to keep it within the realm of an hour time frame for the meeting? Or do we think we need to go higher or lower on the question count? Any thoughts? Representative Cassieri?
Perhaps we should see if he accepts the invitation first, and then we can determine the question amount from there.
Fair point. Fair point. All right. Well, we'll do that. We'll send an invitation and we'll proceed from there. We'll send out an email to follow up. But definitely, I think it's worthwhile starting to percolate the idea of what questions we want to ask, if we haven't already. So yeah, as far as like, that brings us to pretty much the other business section. And along those lines, as far as scheduling the meetings, I was looking at I really would like to get that draft done for the 30th. I think that's a good goal. And obviously it would be a bit of a draft and more adjustment would be needed. But I would like to shift. I'm thinking about once a month, maybe after that, just to kind of pull back the throttle. Because at that point, we're just kind of tweaking language, or we should be just tweaking language and kind of fine tuning things. And I would also like to, I've reaching out to the chair of the Public Safety Committee, and I'm thinking if we pull back to like a once a month model or a twice a month model, that it may behoove us to try to sync up with them in joint meetings after September 30th, from the month of October on. Any thoughts on that, Representative Richards?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand correctly. After we have a recommendation to the town council, what would we be meeting for after that point? Just refining it? Because we wouldn't have the ability to kind of voice things at that panel or at that point of time. After that point,
I guess my thought was maybe just reserving the right to be reconvened if the town council, public safety committee wanted us to do some further research on any sort of aspect of the report, or had further questions, or wanted us to participate in any sort of action that they may be doing. Representative Rusk, and then Richards.
Would that not fall under the Public Safety Committee then?
That's a fair question too. And yeah, I would gladly defer if that's the case. Moderator Ebbin or Representative Richards, thoughts on that?
I would, this is Representative Richards, by the way. I would think that our committee would have fulfilled its goals with the report and recommendation, or however that is put together and framed in the end. And my understanding was that that would be the end of this committee. And perhaps, as Representative Rusk said, then Public Safety Committee for the RTM could be a connection with what's happening at the Town Council Public Safety Committee.
And I would agree with Representative Richards on that. Unless, the Town Council, reaches out and, asks for additional clarification or research to help their efforts. I think, our body is not able to really legislate. This is the role of the Town Council. So I don't see there being a specific role for this special committee. And I think probably our oversight of public safety issues should come through the Public Safety Committee.
Sounds good. All right then. So yeah, so our goal would be to create this draft and pretty much disband unless we're asked specifically to reconvene for some reason. So very well. All right. If no one else has any other business, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Kasiri.
Second Flax.
All right, and moved by Cassieri, seconded by Flax. Any all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, very well then. Thank you all. Have a good night. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Welcome.